Hello everyone. Mind the terrible quality, I can't control it. I'm going live here so I don't have to deal with 40 minutes of just trying to upload something. So instead, to save my sanity, I'm just gonna go live here. Unfortunately, that does mean lower quality, but at the same time, that just makes my life quality better. And I also have to deal with schoolwork, so I'm just going ahead and getting this out of the way here. I'm probably going to do these things to where I go more in depth into the explanation of this program. For those of whom who are also learning Java with me and may want to see how I'm doing things, I don't know. Maybe you guys just want to see how it's working out. Maybe some of you are studying C, C++, C#, hell, even Python, and are just wanting to see Java, maybe get a better understanding because maybe you don't know what some of the stuff means. Maybe you can understand the logic, but outside of logic, you may not know. So first of all, there's obviously the package, which is the very first command. That's always the first command because, well, it's the package that I'm currently running everything in, which is package task 2. And of course, I need to import two things here because I'm using two things. I'm using the scanner for inputs with keyboard, and I am also using random number generator, so I need to be able to import both the util scanner and the random number generator from Java, and that is what these two commands do. Next is public class school main, and that is my class, and of course it is public, meaning it can be accessed by other classes in the package. So yeah, that works out. And of course, you have to make sure it is assigned to main. If you do not have this command right here, it won't know it's main. Well, technically it will know it's main, but this is like a needed command. You need to have something saying, oh, it's public void secondary or something like that. I don't know everything else. I just know this specific command for the main class. Of course, public means it is accessible by other classes. Static, I'm not sure what that means. And void is like kind of like an action. And of course, main means it's the main thing, and then string RGS. So there you go. And everything happens within this. Because let's see what happens. Boom, it's all gone. If I plus it, and it's all there. Alright. Okay. So first of all, scanner input new scanner system in. This command right here is what enables the keyboard, because system in is the keyboard. This right here is keyboard. So when I am doing this, I'm basically importing the command to make keyboard enabled, because you see how Java works is that it only uses what it needs and pretty much ignores everything else. And if you're trying to use something without telling Java, okay Java, we're going to be using it, it won't know what you're doing because it won't be imported. Hence why I have to import the scanner and the random. Because if I try and do these commands right here without the random imported, it'll have no idea what's going on here. It will not know. You have to import this. And in this situation, it's showing that because I have to tell Java, okay, import the scanner, now use that scanner with keyboard. And there you go. So now that's imported. Next is the random commands. And all of these are basically setting up the random numbers that I want to use. And you can see a bunch of them here. Same with these, except they're setting up the variables. If you don't know what a variable is, it is basically these things right here. Like when you see these variables across this code, the variables are kind of like in algebra. Like, you know algebra, like x values? Well, that's pretty much what variables are here. They are just values of specific stuff. They can be string values, they can be integer values, they can be double values, etc. And in this situation, I'm setting up the randoms, so it sets up this as, okay, this is a random value, alright? And of course, import new random. Then I want to go to integer, so I can tell Java, okay, Java, TID is an integer, and I want you to create a random number using the teacher ID with random, and I want you to have a range of I want you to have a range of 100,000, and you can do 300,000 options. Okay, so basically the numbers will be ranging from 100,000 to 400,000. I think. Yeah, 400,000. So the numbers can either be 100,000 or 400,000. And that's what this is. And basically I'm trying to say, like, that little equal sign is basically saying whatever result appears from this, make TID equal to this value. Integer TID basically means it's going to be an integer, meaning it's going to be a single value without decimals, and I want this single value integer to equal the results of this random number. And this is what all of these are for, is just establishing that random number. Next, you see system.out.print. This is where the prints come in. This is basically the beginning of the program. You see it starting this, basically just doing my trademark lines here to separate everything. And then it says, I'm basically telling system.out.println, or just system.out.print is basically printing into the console. So basically what I'm telling Java here is, okay, in the console, print out, welcome back teacher, please enter your name. Note there's a spacebar here. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it does matter to make it look not messy. And here you go. Alright, so next, enter your name. Here we go. String tname equals input next line. This command right here is basically telling Java string. Okay, this is going to be a string command. Next is tname. Basically, well, I'll get to that. Next is equal, and then input next line. This command is basically telling Java use scanner. And when it reaches this string of code, it stops everything else from being executed, and basically it stops everything from being executed past this point, and it basically makes the user of the program type something out. And whatever that user types out, it is stored in tname. The variable will become whatever is typed out. So with that being said, it moves on to system.out.println, and then it goes hello, and then it adds tname. Basically, whatever you add into the variable tname is now displayed in the print. And then it says, please enter your passcode. And then here's another version of this same command. These two commands are basically the same. It's basically telling Java to make the user of the program type out using their keyboard. However, this one is different because it requires you to put in an integer. And that integer value will be very important. So, integer passcode is equal to input next int, which is integer. This is very crucial. And the reason why I'm making it integer and not string is because you can't compare strings with integer values. Because if you make the variable an integer in this command, it basically makes that variable always an integer. Because you cannot compare string values to integer values. It does not let you. It does not work. This is why I need this input to be an integer specific command. Otherwise, this won't work. Alright. Now we go into the main bulk here, and this is where the explanations get complicated, and we're already going in 9 minutes long, good God. So, this is where the if statement comes in. So, first of all, let me just say right now, alright, if passcode is equal to 208713, it will execute the rest of this, alright? The thing is that because I have it as an integer value, that means you can put in the integer. If you do not put in this exact integer right here, it'll automatically go to the else statement. Because you see, if passcode does not equal the value 208713, it is a false statement, meaning it does not execute these, and Java jumps to the else statement. In that situation, it is simply saying if it is else and not if, just simply execute system out println, this is the incorrect password. However, if the passcode is equal to 208713, it will say this is a true statement. So Java, if this is true, which it is, execute this stuff. And the first thing it does is says thank you, puts in the separator, age, tname, age is tag F, which is teacher age final, I think I made it name. Because remember, I think the age is random, I should mention. Because you see tag F right here. Let me scroll up here. Tag F. Into tag F, 25 plus tage equal dot next int 40. Whatever is the result of this random number generator is basically what tag F will be, which is teacher age final. So it basically just displays age right here, and it's always random. Next is teacher ID, which TID is also random. Personal email is hidden, and then tname, and then class courses. Okay, so remember, everything is still going on right now, because if you put in the wrong passcode, it automatically jumps to this else statement. Right now, everything is going on in the if statement. But you just found another if, right? Like, how does that work? This is called, I think it's called, if nesting, I think it's called. If nesting is basically having if-else commands within an if-else command. It's if-elseception, I know, stupid, but it's basically saying if is true, execute all this, and then reach this new if statement. And this if statement basically is a value. You see, courses is another random number. If I go up here, courses is equal to 1 plus course counter dot next int 2. Meaning you can either have 1 course or 2 courses. Well, the course counter. If course counter is equal to 1, it executes the if statement, meaning it will execute everything here, which is int grade 1, and basically this right here is a automatic random, because you see right here there's already a bunch of random numbers generated, but right here I made it a little different to where you see G counter is right here, right? Well, this sets up the fact how, okay, Java, G counter will be a random number. But mind you, the random thing right here, this command, does not create a number yet. A number is not created until you do this command right here. And it basically uses, basically telling Java, okay, Java, remember G counter is a random number. Well, now set up a command to create that random number. And whatever random number is produced here, store that value into integer grade 1, the variable. And that same thing applies to here. And then automatically it will do system out grade 1. Remember, it's the same variable, meaning whatever is stored here shows here in grade 1. And then plus grade English. So if I get a result 6, it's 6th grade English. And then in students 1 is the same thing here. System out print students, and then absent is also random. No. Let's not change that. And there you go. All that is executed. Okay, second of all, you notice students 1 becomes 0 here. That is because I basically reset the students counter right here. Because you see, students 1 creates a new random number here. And say it says students is 18. It will display 18 students as the variable, because right now students 1 is equal to 18. And of course it'll show absent. Now, however, I'm about to set up a new class here, which is math. And you see, I want to now display the students. However, if I try and display students 1 again, it'll still display the same number as before, which is 16. Excuse me, sorry. Anyway, it will still display 16. So what I did here is I took students 1 and I made it equal to 0. And then I retook the variable students 1 and recreated a random number. Notice students 1 no longer has an int before it. It no longer has an int before it. That is because I have already established to Java and said to Java, okay, students 1 is an integer value, alright? It already knows this now, so I don't have to put down int anymore since it already has clarified students 1 is an integer value. Now it recreates the same thing except it's different numbers, and whatever comes out of this random command, it will be stored into students 1, and then it'll display the new number as the same value. Now you're probably wondering, how does this work? Why does that work? Because doesn't that automatically change students 1 here? Because you see, it changes it 0. Why doesn't this change to 0 and then become, say, 25? Why isn't this changed to 25? Well, you see, how coding works is that it executes commands downward. It executes each command one by each string. Meaning, if you execute this command here, this command has already been printed. Remember, this print command right here shows up on string 71. This has already been executed, meaning the console has it's already printed this right here. This is already printed, meaning it's already printed 16. It now moves down to 72, 73, 74, 75, and then in string 76, then it executes the 0 command to make students 1 equal to 0. Now it does it. Remember, it just reached string 76. This is already printed, meaning it's already 16. So that means I can easily just make it 0 and then change the value, and then the next command is 78, string 78, and then it prints out students 1 as the new value. So yeah, that's how that works. It's already been printed, so it doesn't matter. So I just basically reused the same value for reasons. And of course, the final command of the if statement is this. Now, there is an else if statement. Now, else if statements are basically else statements that do not finalize the if else command. I know that sounded confusing. Basically, if you want more than 2 choices in your if else statement command, you use else if. And remember, Java works its way down. And basically how an if statement works is that it will test the if statement first no matter what. And if there's an else if statement, basically if right here is untrue, because right now, let's say the course counter makes it 2. Right now, when Java tests, if the if statement is true, courses does not equal 1, so it does not execute these commands. So instead of that, it moves to the next thing. If it was just an else, it would execute that command. But it's an else if, so it tests, okay, is courses equal to 2? And in this situation, it is. That means this statement is true. So Java execute these commands instead. Because if courses isn't equal to 1, it does not execute this if statement, and it moves on to the next statement inside this if else. And once it reaches else if, it tests, okay, is courses equal to 2? Yes, it is. Now we do this. And in this situation, I have a third class showing up instead of just 2, which changes everything. So, you see everything, you see all the commands. It's basically the same thing as this one, except there's an extra class that it has to do. Okay, now, however, if both for some reason do not work, like for some reason if the random number generator fails, what I did here is that if it fails, there is the if statement, it tests that, If it does not equal 1, it moves on to its else if. If it tests and for some reason the courses isn't equal to 2 either, like say for some reason the random number generator breaks or fails, and it like puts down 3, 4, 500 or something like that. If it doesn't equal either, basically what Java will do is it will automatically go through every single if and else if until it reaches else. And right here is the else statement. If nothing is true, it'll automatically execute the final thing, which is the else statement, which it'll say system out print there was an error gathering this information. And that's just a pretty basic way of like just fixing a bug. It's like, okay, there's an error, move on. But yeah, that's what this does, and interesting, right? Okay, good God, it's so long. I'm so sorry. Okay, moving on. So this is the entire thing right here. You see all this, and then this is the entire thing. I need to breathe. I've been talking for the past 20 minutes. I need to take a breather here. Alright, gotta get that breathing going on. Alright, so system out, that println, it does all this. To-do list today, and it does all this. Okay, meetings is another random number, because if I scroll up here, meetings is another random, and of course it does mcounter, which mcounter is right here. So yeah, basically saying meetings will always be a random number, and right now meetings is already set up, and then papers is also random. So okay, and then the same thing as before, it's an int command for a keyboard. Alright, so this is new. This entire code is a little buggy. What I try to do is if open message equals 2, I try to make it work to where and then you go back and it does that, blah blah blah. For some reason it bugged out. I don't know why. This won't work. If you try and press 2 in this moment, it bugs out. I have no idea why. But so basically, if new message equals 1, it will execute everything. It's just the same thing, and then of course you open the first message, first topic, boom, boom, boom. There you go. It's all good. If you want to back up, make it to where press 1 to go back. Execute a command to make console have the user of the program input a number. If backup equals 1, which is basically again backup right here. If the number that the user of the program stores is 1 and it equals 1, it'll execute all this, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, all that. All that. And I think if you put down 2 here, it just bugs out. I'm pretty sure that's what happens. So yeah, don't do that. Okay. So this is basically just re-putting down everything. Simple as that. Enter your teacher ID. Okay. Relax. It's been going on for a while now, huh? Okay. So, more explanation. Oh boy. So, it shows everything. Before you enter the student enrollment page, you must enter your information. And then it adds this separator. And then it asks, please enter your teacher ID. This is where it it executes the command int tid answer equals input next integer. And then of course the enclosed brackets, blah blah blah. Basically, what you're doing right now is you're putting in your ID. And if you remember, the ID, TID right here is the variable, and TID stands for teacher identification digit, I think it's called. I think ID means identification digit, I'm pretty sure. But it's teacher ID, right? So you see, you are basically putting in the code for teacher information digit blah 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 answer, and then you come to an if statement. If TID answer equals TID, which remember is 208713, which is the value stored inside the TID value. If it equals TID, meaning if TID answer is 208713, it'll execute these. If it is else, however, it'll be incorrect. And I should mention that if you do this incorrectly, I made this just right to where, well, I'll get to that. But if you do that, it says, alright, please enter your card number and press 1, enter, and then it moves on. And basically, if you enter the number correctly or incorrectly, no matter what, it will display this. This is always displayed no matter what. Now, this is why if you put in TID answer incorrectly, it automatically terminates the program right away. This is why. Because you see, this is the new if statement in string 222. If it has the same exact command this has, the same statement. And basically Java is testing if TID answer is equal to TID, which it doesn't. If it doesn't equal TID, it automatically jumps to the else value here. I mean the else statement. And mind you, the else statement is all the way down here. This is literally all the way down here. Meaning if the TID answer does not equal TID, when Java tests if the if statement is true, which it isn't, it will automatically jump straight down to the else statement because there's no else ifs in between this. Meaning it will automatically jump to the very end of this whole program and execute the final command being incorrect passcode, your account is not locked until unlocked by principal. And then it terminates the program right away. So yeah, don't put in the wrong ID. It'll automatically terminate the program right away. Like as soon as you press enter, because again, remember, if you put in TID answer, the first test that Java does is if it equals TID, which it doesn't. So this is not executed, but it does execute this. Now, it then goes to here, and then it does this test right here. You are never able to put in anything new because there is no commands shown when you put in the wrong code. There is no commands to make you have to put something inside the console as a user of the program. It's just, if you get this wrong, it executes, it tests if this is true, which it isn't, so it skips this. Oh, for God's sakes. It skips this, it does the else statement, it puts down this, and then it tests if this is true, which it doesn't, so it automatically jumps to the else statement, which is doing this. And of course, right after this command is nothing. It's just body endings. So yeah, friendly tip, put in the correct passcode. Okay, moving on. Good God, this is long. Okay. But if you do have the correct passcode, then it continues. Please enter student's name, string, student name, and put next. Notice it's not next line, it's just simply next. That's an important reason why that happens, because if you have this as next line, it bugs out. Don't do that. Just put in next. Then of course it's doing this, generate ID for student plus student name. Student name is already a made code at the very beginning, I think. No, never mind. Sorry. I'm wrong. This is what you put in, because again, string, student name, whatever you put into this value is what's shown here. So, say you name the person Jeffrey, it'll display Jeffrey here. Next, right here, what you're seeing right now is it's generating the ID. Now is what I'm talking about. SID means student identification digit. And if I scroll up here, SID has already been established. This is one of those commands that are already established, because mind you, some of the random number generator codes happen in the middle of the program, but I made some of the numbers already being done here. Because remember, Java works down the list of the strings. meaning every single one of these variables you see here, the random number is already established at the very beginning of the command. Like before you even see anything put inside the console, everything is already established. Like all the random numbers for these, specific values are already made and established, and they're already stored inside the variables, meaning they're already done. So all you have to do now is just use the variable. In this situation, I use it here. And I do some basic math stuff, blah blah blah, and of course it just goes through some math. Basically, I make it to where it displays SID, SID2, and SID3 separately, and then I make it do a command to where SID equals SID plus SID2. Next, I do system out, print ln. I make it print the new student ID. Because remember, I just made SID equal itself plus student ID 2. So now the new student ID is different. Next, I move on to SID minus SID 3. Now the new SID is established, and I display that. Now I go here. It displays student name, and then it displays student ID. There you go, done. Next, input age, and student age, blah blah blah, student grade, blah blah blah. Okay, this is where I use the some stuff here. This is where you see a lot of if else here. So basically, if I you put it in the grade integer. If the integer you put in is under 7, is less than 7, it displays the grade in elementary school. If the student grade is less than 9, it displays middle school, and if it is less than or equal to 12, it displays high school. Now, you're probably wondering, why doesn't Java wind up displaying all of this if the if statement is true? Because some people may think, oh, but if it is like student grade is 5, it's less than 7, does that mean Java executes all of this? No. Remember, Java works down the line, and when there's an if statement, it'll test every single if, else if, and else statement until it finds a true statement. Right now, if the if statement is true, it will not test these statements. It will not test all this. If this statement is true, it'll automatically display grade, student grade, in an elementary school. However, say you put down 11, okay? So if the student grade value is 11 now, what Java will do is that it will test if the if statement is true, which it is not. It'll test if else if statement is true, it is not. Then it will test this else if statement if it's true, and it is, meaning it'll display high school. And again, if you say choose 8, it'll student grade is equal to 8, it'll test this, untrue, it'll test this, it's true, meaning it will not do any of these. It will ignore these and just skip over them. So there you go, easy, right? Not hard to explain, not hard to understand. It was hard to explain, I have to explain a lot of it, but hopefully it clears it up. And of course, if for some reason you decide to put something like 13 or 14 or something like that, it automatically tests everything, and then if none of these are true, it'll go to else. There was an error retrieving this information. So please don't just put 13 or something. Next is enter student sex, which is the same input.next, meaning if you put down male, it'll display male. If you put down female, it'll display female. If you put down alien, it'll display alien. If you put down Donald Trump, it'll display Donald Trump. Enrollment complete. Information sent to principal, and then it shows the information. And of course, it redoes the same command because I have to do it like that. Okay. Now, this is where you see a lot of else-if commands or statements. So, you have a new student grade to fill out. Enter your passcode to continue. There you go. Now you put in the passcode. Remember. Password has to equal passcode, because if you remember, the variable passcode is 208713. If password, the integer you put down, is not 208713, what Java will do is it will test if is true, which it isn't. So what it will do is it will automatically jump straight to else. And when it jumps straight to else, it's done. It's gone. It's over. Mission failed. Better luck next time. So you have to put it in correctly, otherwise the program will just terminate automatically. If you put it in correctly though, it will do this. This entire program right here is an averaging program. It's an averaging calculator. And basically I'm setting up variables here: int total, int graded, int average, and counter. Now, int total is basically the total added together. Graded is all the grades you'll input. Average is the average, and the counter will never be seen by the user of the program, but the counter basically adds up in the background. So you see here, we reach a while statement. A while statement is basically a loop. It's a loop of commands. So basically, everything inside this while statement, this will constantly loop while counter is less than 20. Okay? Basically, these parameters right here are basically saying, while statement, like basically these parameters are saying to the while statement, Java, constantly loop these commands until the counter is greater than 20. Okay, that's what it means. Because basically, while will constantly loop these commands until this statement is untrue. Because as long as counter is less than 20, it will constantly loop these commands right here. However, if counter becomes greater than 20 or equal to 20, the while loop will stop and it will move on. So basically, once it reaches while, it'll constantly loop. Now, how does a counter add, you may ask? Well, first of all, I should explain what happens in the while loop. In the while loop, you see graded input next integer. Basically, this command right here makes you have to put in a number, okay? Say I put in 83, okay? Once I put down 83, it will then move on to the next command and make it do system out print insert next grade. However, before it loops back to this command, it will execute total equals total plus graded and then counter plus plus. Now, total equals total plus graded. Basically what this is doing is it is making the total value equal itself plus the total graded value. Okay? So basically, every time you add in a new graded value, it'll add that to the total. Okay? Alright, good. And basically, right now, say I put down 86. Right now, once it reaches this command, Java will turn the total's value into 86. Moving on, we reach counter plus plus. Those two pluses basically means you're adding 1 to the counter. If you remember, right now counter equals 0. Once it reaches this command, it equals 1. So it loops back to graded input next int. You put in a new number, and then it puts in insert next grade. Now it reaches this command, Java adds, say you put down 40. It does, right now total is equal to 86, now graded equals 40. Okay? So now you're doing 86 plus 40. Now you have a new total value, which is 126. Then you reach counter again, which adds up to 2. And you notice it keeps adding up. Once it reaches 20, the while loop cancels out and it finally ends. So once it finally ends, the total number amount basically has 19 new values added to itself. At this point, it's probably something like 100 or 200, 1,000 or 2,000 right now. Then you move on. Once the while loop ends, it moves on to here. It does this, the separator. It shows GSID. Next, it reaches this. Now, the average integer. Now, you basically, what I'm telling Java to do right now is I want average, the variable average, to equal the total divided by 20. Okay? I'm wanting average to equal the total divided by 20, which is the total amount of numbers we implemented. So basically, we take total and then we divide it by 20, and whatever happens here is stored into this value right here, this variable. Next command, we have Java print on screen student grade is the average variable %, meaning if total divided by 20 is 78, that means student grade is 78%. Okay, the next thing, okay, good God, how long has this been? 40 minutes. Okay, next is if. So, it reaches another if statement. If it basically is testing everything. So again, remember, it's 78, right? The number is 78. So first, Java tests, is average equal to 100? No. Is average equal to 90? Is it greater than or equal to 90? No. 80? No. Is it greater than or equal to 70? Yes. So it executes this command, which is C. Okay? There you go. And you can just look at this. If you probably get the idea, just look. I'll give you a moment to look at this. I just won't move anything, so it like refreshes. There you go. As you can see everything. There you go. Okay. Once it does all of this, once it does this, of course, the else right here, if none of these are true, there was an error retrieving this information. So basically saying if you have like over 100, unfortunately it bugs out. Oh well. So just put in, you can put extra credit, like put in 110, just as long as the average does not go above 100, it's fine. And then of course, that's it. It goes to this last command and you're done. That's the entire code. Simple as that. Now, before I move on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this jokingly, because you guys saw the other videos. I'm going to run this entire program. Now that you understand what's going on, I'm going to run it. Please enter your name. I want my name to be Donald Trump. He's a teacher now. Okay, please enter your passcode. I want it to be an 8. The incorrect password. Alright, so press 1 to read. Boom. 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 Okay. Next, please enter your teacher ID. Okay. 262487. Okay, press 1. Student name Donald Trump. Please enter the student's name. Mike Pence the Insane. Mike Pence the Insane. Alright. So now you have these numbers being generated. And then it finally comes up to 145463. Input age. 105. Input student grade. I want him to be in 8th grade. There, 8th grade boy. Okay. Student sex. Alien. Alright, so here's our new student who got enrolled today. His ID is 145463. His name is Mike Pence the Insane. Student age 105. Sex alien. Grade 8. And he's in middle school. Alright, enter your passcode to continue. 208713. Yeah. What? Incorrect password. What happened? Okay, well that's a bug. I'll figure that out later. Anyway, yay, it's done. Alright, I can finally get out of here. Bye. I need to do schoolwork. Good God, I didn't think it would take this long.